Moving on to kind of maybe more the negative side of MLS's final weekend. Um, should we start off with Atlanta's head coach losing his job right there, right after the game?
I mean, it's not quite Evangelos Marinakis firing Ange Postecoglou in the tunnel, which I saw the reports of that said that actually Marinakis wasn't going to fire Postecoglou, but somehow the conversation went in a direction that angered Marinakis, and he fired the man on the spot. Obviously, it wasn't going well for Ange, but he didn't. And Ronnie Dyla got a whole season to figure it out in Atlanta, and could not figure out how to play quality defensive soccer. Could not figure out how to get things headed in a good direction. Gets fired the second the season is over. I imagine some of that has to do with the contract he has and how much they have to pay him to go away. You really don't want to be especially in MLS, you really don't want to be adding a bunch of dead money to your books because you fired a manager. And of course, they've struggled to find the right guy for a number of years now. He did not deserve to keep the job, but it is a definite problem for Atlanta that they don't have a clear direction. And now they've spent some money. I'll point out that Garth Lagerwey is sick, and that's, terrible news. And hopefully, that doesn't, we wish the best for him, right? Certainly. But from an organizational perspective, that's going to be a distraction. Chris Henderson knows what he's doing. But again, figuring out how to marry these things, the ambition that Atlanta has, finding the right players and getting a manager who can get the most out of them has been a problem.
And for the final game of the season, Cam Pellegrino online says that there was 44,000 in Atlanta for that final game of the season. So still getting support despite the poor season. It looks like attendances were pretty good around the country on decision day. Those are some pretty impressive numbers to report.
Well, okay, imagine some of this is papering the room a bit. I mean,
let's as MLSs want to do.
Sure, a lot of teams do this. A lot of professional outfits do this. And remember that reported numbers are not always numbers of butts in the seats. That's a number of tickets that were distributed for the game. I don't doubt that Nashville got pretty close to 30,000. It says 30,109. Charlotte probably did 31,000 or something up thereabouts. The Revs number, that's a wild number to me. 36,000 out to see the Revs play the season finale in a dead season. That one, again, feels like a paper the room situation. You've got Atlanta there, even though they have struggled this year, 14th in the Eastern Conference. Although, again, because of the result, the 1-1 against DC, they did avoid the wooden spoon, which I guess is something. But yeah, those are good numbers for Major League Soccer if you can trust them. And, I'm past the point of caring too much about attendance.
Yeah, but positives, but we are talking negatives. We're going to stay in kind of the funky part of the weekend. You talked about it. Wooden spoon, DC United getting the award that they would least like to receive, the wooden spoon, but they did avoid being outscored as a team by Leo Messi, able to get just enough goals to outscore the Golden Boot winner.
Yeah. Okay. Damning with some faint praise. Obviously. Yeah, man. I won't point out, I don't know if this is officially official. I don't know how you would determine this, but I do believe that fans in Columbus have decided to call this the Anthony Precourt Memorial Wooden Spoon. Just after last week's celebration of Saved the Crew, I think that is worth mentioning. As part of the story of the wooden spoon. You never want this. DC now has another offseason to try to fix what ails them. Will they be able to bring in enough talent to make this work?
You got like a writer or something, a writer or an agent in charge. So, I mean, all faith is probably
they have a new manager in charge who came in before their new sporting director, a guy who last I heard was working remotely because he's European based. He's also a guy that, while definitely an agent and has worked as an agent, in fact, Mesut Ozil is one of his former clients, is also a novelist and has written several novels about the dramatic world, the tension-filled world, the thriller world of soccer agency. And there are people who have actually done the work of reading these books. I have not. I know John Mueller on Blue Sky has been commenting about some of these. In fact, there's something about trying to do a deal with Manchester United while his daughter has been kidnapped by some international crime syndicate, which is based on soccer agency. It's called The Table. It's like the group of bad agents who are using soccer signings to cover up crime. So anyway, that's DC situation. They've man, it's really dark. It's really bad in DC right now for the men's team, not for the women's team.
Good comment from I Play French Horn, noting that that large attendance in Atlanta was likely due to the send off for Brad Guzan after a long and illustrious career.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and deserving of a send off.
Yeah, one of the originals there, Atlanta United, from when they first broke into the league. One more negative note: Coach Armas out in Colorado not enjoying missing the playoffs. Former coworker of mine and former guest of the show, Matt Pollard from Burgundy Wave, asking a follow-up question of Chris Armas after the game on Saturday, asking, after missing the playoffs, where does this leave you? And
do we want to just watch this? Do we want to just let them? Let's see.
Pollard, Burgundy Wave. Isn't over and the team not making the playoffs. You've been generally positive.
Matt, we didn't make the playoffs.
The Colorado Rapids missed the playoffs. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Always good you remind me of this stuff. Yeah, good. Yeah, what you got?
With the season ending and now knowing the conclusion of that, where do you think this leaves in terms of your tenure with the club and possibly coming back? Thank you.
Well, I'm not sure what you're going to put out there, Matt, because it's always from you guys and what your outlet. It's always negative. It's always poking holes in the team. It's attacking the coaching. I'm not sure where you're going to go with what you do. You do what you do, and not sure many people read it, but I don't appreciate all the negativity you've given us over the months and even, quite honestly, the few years. So have fun with this one that we didn't make the playoffs. But, yeah, my future with the team, listen, it's fresh, just ended. We'll have discussions with leadership and continue some discussions. That's all I can say for now.
Coach.
So awkward moments there at
Radio.
so awkward moments there in the press conference between Matt Pollard and Chris Armas following Colorado not making the playoffs, missing out on goal difference alone. Real Salt Lake getting in there ahead of them.
Okay. Chris Armas, no, sorry, dude. This is not the reaction, right? Like, I understand you're frustrated, you're upset the way the season ended, you didn't make the playoffs, you're worried about your job, but this is the job. And the job isn't, hey, I'm going to get all pissy about coverage of the only outlet that is dedicated to actually day to day telling people what's going on with the Colorado Rapids. If the Burgundy Wave did not exist, there would not be regular coverage of the Colorado Rapids. Unfortunately, we live in this media environment where the only people willing to do the work of these independent outlets, remember the Burgundy Wave used to be part of SB Nation, and then SB Nation or Vox killed off all of its MLS coverage, leaving these outlets, leaving these long-standing outlets to cover MLS to go off on their own and try to figure out a way to make it work. Burgundy Wave is one of them. We talk about Sounder at Heart figuring out a way to do this too. These groups, and a lot of these are volunteer reporters or people who are 1- and 2-man shops. You know how hard that is? Rob and I are trying to stand up a 2-man, 3-man company right now. You know how hard it is to do that when there's 8 billion things you have to do beyond make the content. And these guys are out of training every day, every week. They're at the games. They're asking the questions. You want to have nobody there asking you no questions because nobody will care, Chris? Okay, then you take your shots at Burgundy Wave. Shout out to Matt Pollard. There was nothing wrong with the question he asked. It's a natural question to ask when you miss the playoffs as an MLS team in a league where 18 teams make the playoffs and you didn't make the playoffs, and you're going to get pissy about the way the Burgundy Wave asks a question about what happens next for your organization. Stop it, Chris. Stop it.
Yeah, that seems totally out of line. It's like, so you want absolutely no coverage unless they're kissing your backside for a rare win that you may or may not get. And I think Mike Thomas, MK Ultra, hit the nail on the head. He could have said just, placation sort of answer. We got reinforcements in the midseason, regroup and come back next year. I mean, he didn't have to try. And he tried to embarrass Matt too, saying like, I don't know if anyone's going to read your stuff. And like,
Chris, if you're upset, if you're emotional, if you're angry and you say, I prefer not to think about, next year, whatever it is, right? We're still processing. Fine. But again, this is an outlet that does the work that nobody else does. The Denver Post doesn't cover the Colorado Rapids like this. The Rocky Mountain, I don't even know if these papers exist anymore. That's just what I remember from being in Denver. The Rocky Mountain News probably doesn't cover the Rapids like this. And to say, oh, you're going to write something negative, I don't know who will read it. Chris, you sound like an 8-year-old. Unfortunately, you actually sound like the way the politics work in the country at the moment, which is insane to imagine that that's where we are, to realize that's where we are. But Chris Armas, you are not covering yourself in glory. You look ridiculous now. Nobody comes out of this looking worse than you, right? And again, taking shots about the negative coverage. Do you know why? If the Burgundy Wave is writing negative things about the Colorado Rapids, it's because the results on the field dictate those negative things. Period. End of story.
Yeah, Matt and the Burgundy Wave probably want nothing more than to write a positive story about your team, but you haven't produced the results or the product to do such a thing. And just because someone asked something that wasn't glowing and something that might be an uncomfortable question is no reason to attack them.